What if everything you learned about marketing became obsolete overnight? That's exactly what happened when social media arrived.
Now available. Awakening I Am, Internal Awareness in an AI Age audiobook, and our Victory Builders platform, which integrated system for founders who execute, is open. Links in the description. Most businesses have an idea of who their customer is, but they really don't understand how to call out to them. Marketing tools and techniques are unique, and there are some baseline tools and techniques. But then something happened, the social media and the web. I've said this often. I remember taking out my first ad in a local newspaper when we went from commercial construction to home improvement. It was a different market. And I remember doing a program that I put together called The Mindful Marketer because I had to relate to the struggles that I have. One of the first struggles that I had is when I went from commercial, we charged by the square foot. When I had moved into the home improvement market, you charge by a person's budget.
Right.
So I had to learn how to do a kitchen for $2,500 for a single mom who just went through divorce and she just want her kitchen updated, right? So what do you do? And then you go to a guy that has the money, and it becomes a different scene. One is just hanging cabinets, and the other one is designing and all those. So, but I had to learn that because I couldn't go by the square foot. I would never get a job. Digital marketing changed a lot because what digital marketing did, especially those of us who used Facebook ads or things as such, it made us think about the customer. And in all marketing, you think about the customer avatar, right? You think about who you're calling out to. But digital marketing, a lot of people said it didn't work because a lot of times we didn't take the time to think about who we were calling out to. So people would boost the post. And Ryan Dice from Digital Marketer Pro, which I got all of my certifications from, would call those vanity metrics. The vanity metrics is I get a lot of likes, and it seems like a lot of people is liking my stuff, but I'm not making no money. So they came up with this whole thing called the funnel. And at the bottom of the funnel is where you get the most money, and the tail of the funnel is where you find your audience. If you are in business, you need to understand the science behind it, how it's still working. And even in the midst of an AI environment, how you can leverage marketing tools and ads and things of such. So today we have our guest, because we only give you the best, as we sit you at the feet of the masters, and we're going to get into all things digital marketing. I am Naron Tillman. This is Walking Victory, and we sit you at the feet of the masters, and we give you a conversation that'll help you evolve your life. You're going to walk away with one or two great tips that you can use today, and it's going to be free. Just hit like, subscribe, and share. Uh, Mukesh, how are you? I think I said it right.
Yeah, Naron, thanks. Thanks for having me. I'm good. How are you today?
I'm good. So when you hear AI and like right now, there's this thing where AI is taking away the work of a marketer. What do you say to that?
I think the fundamentals still are the same.
Hmm.
What AI is doing is that it's able to augment a lot of work that we were doing manually. So it is able to help us scale our marketing in ways which were just not possible a few years back even. So I think a lot of people are talking about how AI is going to replace some of the marketing that we do today. Yes, it will, but not in the true sense. it would replace some of the redundant processes, some of the things that were anyway not useful or was taking a lot of time and bodies to do. So that's where I see it going. But I just feel the times going forward are so much more exciting because now you can do a lot more. Like solopreneurs, small teams, they are able to actually compete with the big guys. And I think
Yeah.
that has never happened in the history. I think internet was one thing when internet happened, similar wave was there that small .com companies could compete with the bigger players. I think this is that other wave. I would say electricity, internet, and then now AI. Those three inventions are of that kind.
It's funny that you go all the way back to electricity because the same principles moved forward, right? You have your baseline principles that move forward. One, what are you selling and who is it for? If you're in business and you think that you're selling to everybody, then you're not in business. Like you have to really niche down. I think that AI is a mirror of who we are. A lot of people thought that the internet would take over legacy TV buying ad buying. But we see that people spend millions of dollars on television ads just to get that impression. And then it went to now is AI like, oh, it's going to take over. No, because AI is only a microcosm or a mirror of who you are. How are you leveraging or setting your teams up for success in this age? And what are some of the trends that you're seeing that excites you and some of the things that you're saying, oh, this is never coming back?
Yeah, I think you make a great point about who you are selling to.
Yeah.
I think that's the whole foundation of any kind of sales or marketing. So really, you have to have an ideal customer profile because, like you said, cannot be selling to everyone because then it's for no one. So once you have that down, once you know who is the ideal customer profile, what audience segment you're selling to a question, I think then we can do so much intervention into our processes using AI. And to give you a specific example, in the SEO space. We've been doing SEO for about 10 years now, but lately what we are doing is we are now able to call APIs of most popular SEO tools within ChatGPT. So let's say I'm working in ChatGPT and I do not want to leave my chat window to go to an SEO tool and fetch data from there or keyword analysis from there. I can do it right in that window by calling API of that system. So one, I'm able to work faster, but also I'm so much more efficient and accurate because I'm not just talking to an LLM. Yes, I'm talking to an LLM, but I'm also fetching data which is being collected by one of the popular SEO tools, and I use Data for SEO with their
Which
API
one you
connection.
use?
Data for SEO, they have an API connection which you can make with ChatGPT and any other platform. Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand that like this thing is moving so fast that it's really making you more efficient. Let's say how many people is on your team?
Yeah, so I have 5 full-time employees, and then I work with, I think, 12 plus contractors.
Right. So you got
Yeah,
17 people in total, right?
yeah, right.
And when you show them your process, you and they use that one example that you did, how many times faster are you able to make production for a client?
I would say many X. I mean, depending on what project we are on, but to give you perspective, just with that 5 people team, we've been able to support the last 6 years 120 plus tech startups just in the US.
Wow.
So I mean, imagine, and we've been doing this. The AI is new, but we've been doing some level of automation even
Yeah.
back in
Yeah.
the day. Like pre-COVID, we started automating processes and things in a way that although we are a services business, which helps startups run their marketing, but we do
Mhm.
not operate as a service business. We have productized our services, and with AI, we are able to do it so much more because now we have, all the tools and technologies to be able to do it even faster.
Well, we started off talking about single out focus on who your customer is, and you work primarily with tech startups or in B2B.
Yeah.
How was it for you to find who your audience was and what your niche was as you went out and said, "Hey, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur." What was that journey like?
Yeah. So I think that was a fairly simple call for me to make because when I used to work as an employee, most of my career was spent at technology startups. And I
Mm,
was fortunate to have worked at startups who went on and became the largest players in the space. So that way I was kind of fortunate to see how a startup works, but also how it grows into this giant of a company. And when I started my own agency, it was an easy decision to make because I knew how startups worked and I had worked as an employee within them and was also lucky to be with them in the phase when they were growing fast. So, I, in a way, I had a playbook which now I can take and bring to these startup founders that I work with.
Now, what has changed in the area of technology from when you started to? I mean, the foundations are similar, but a lot has happened because a lot is happening even right now as we're talking. Somebody's building up a new startup company. What changes have you seen, and how have you been able to navigate and keep up with the fast pace? Because tech is always changing.
Yeah, I think a lot of things have changed. Nowadays, if you see, you have a lot more SaaS based companies. Not that it was not back then, I myself as an employee worked at SaaS companies, but you are seeing more and more companies doing software as a service. So that's one. AI is part of most of the software products. So it's not an afterthought to have
Mm,
AI integrated into their system. I mean, some level, it can be huge part of it, it can be a small part of it, but you will always see some part of it in the software. And then just from a marketing standpoint, like going in as a consultant with them, they also expect my team and me to be savvy with AI. They want me to know, be aware, be knowledgeable about anything that's going around, cutting edge, whatever is coming new, whatever the future is going to hold, which was, I would say, not that much of an expectation 5 years, 5 years back. So,
mm.
so, so I would say those are the things that I've seen change.
Yeah, so the expectations is rising. Like now, your meetings you have to primary like, well, what's the latest news in AI? Like,
Yeah,
where are we going, and how do you stay current? Because you run a successful business. You've been able to help thousands and countless of companies to do their thing, and it's easy to get the fat rat don't run after the cheese as much, right? So
yeah.
how do you stay slim, the slim rat running after the cheese?
Yeah, I think staying slim is a tough job. I mean, in any way or form. But yeah, I think the way we do it is, and that's more like a culture thing. I myself and my whole team, they want to learn new things. I mean, upskilling is one of the key culture aspects of the team. And then I'm also very hands-on with marketing, and that's something that I enjoy. So when you're hands-on, sometimes it becomes natural to go learn new skills. And I think that has helped a lot because anything that is new, we want to at least explore it and try to do it ourselves first before we offer it to the clients. So that has helped. And also just, following podcasts. I mean, this is a perfect example. Like we are sharing a conversation which may help someone. So I go and listen to other podcasts and I go and listen to, other people talking about it, what they're talking about. And then if there is some key element that I can pick from, if there is a valuable information, I try to make notes and then work upon those things. And then blogs, of course, have always been a good help. So that's, I mean, nothing special, but yeah, just follow the right people, learn from them, and then practice them as much as possible.
We've seen a number of trends, like, and I was watching a content creator crying literally. They used to be a influencer. We went through that whole influencer thing. We went through that phase, and we've always been in kind of a pseudo influencing phase where people would hire athletes or artists to promote their products and stuff like that. But it's a pullback from that now because AI lends us more room for creativity, and people are not easily influenced by influences anymore. As you've seen ebbs and flows, trends go up and down, the graphics, the way the fonts change. Where do you how do you find your voice? Tell the audience a little bit about how do you find your voice so that it don't matter what's trending or know what's happening, but you got a eye for understanding your market and how to call out to that to those people.
Yeah, so I think most of it is driven by the kind of businesses we work with.
Hmm.
So it's usually we want to somehow tune into what their voice is. And and that's why we chose to not work with everyone, but with a very specific niche, and that makes it easier because then we can align our voice with how they talk, how they operate. Startups, because like I said, my own background is coming from ultra high growth tech startups. So I mean, these people want to move fast, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
is you know, so that would be the biggest guidance for our voice. And then, of course, there are things which follow the way we build our website, the colors we choose, even the logo that we want to be fun people to work with, because I think yes, it's work, but at the end of the day, I mean, you want to have fun working with the team. So if you look at our logo, there is a monkey on it, and there's no big idea behind the monkey, but I just feel that monkey is a animal, and then that's why we added it with our company name. So yeah, I mean, small things like that, which resonates with the audience that we work with.
All right, so we're now in a new year, and a lot of things are happening. What what things are you looking out for? What are you advising your customers, your clients? If you can give our audience one or two things that they should be listening, watching out for. We you know, everybody's in an uproar about the economy and all of those things. So how are you approaching that? And where and then finally, where do you place your stock on online ads? Are you looking at YouTube? Still looking at Facebook? What do you think is the best place to do those? So those are the two final questions.
Yeah, from a digital marketing standpoint and the kind of work we do, we are looking at one area very closely, which is AI SEO, which is, the traditional SEO, which is to get higher on the ranking for the keywords that you're targeting. But now we are also looking very closely at how to get mentioned or cited within the large language model chats, specifically ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, these three at least, and of course Google's AI mode. So we are working with clients to make sure that not just are they visible on search, Google search, but they are also being cited and mentioned within ChatGPT. So if someone is searching about something similar that they offer, they get a mention in ChatGPT. So that's it. That's an area that we've been focused on and will continue to focus on in the next year. And to the other question about where should you put the ads, depends on what kind of industry segment you are going after. In B2B, we still feel depending on how your typical buyer makes the purchase, that should define how and where you should put the ads. If they do Google search a lot, Google Ads is your best platform. If let's say they are on Facebook, Instagram, Meta Ads is your platform. If they are more of the kind where they have to learn a lot before they make a purchase, YouTube may be a good channel because most people still go to YouTube to learn things and then they discover the product. So depending
How
on
much,
how they
yeah,
search and yeah.
how much time do you take when you're onboarding at getting a person to understand their client base and where they live? Because that's that if we until we can figure that out, like I think that's one of the most important things is knowing where your people are, right?
Right, right. And sometimes it's a long journey to really understand because I think some of that knowledge comes from and some of that learning, I would say, not even knowledge, comes from your existing customers. So I think
Hmm.
my simple way of doing it is with any client is look at your existing customers. Do they have a commonality? If there's a commonality, that defines what your best fit is. Because if you're winning customers of a certain kind, unless it was sheer luck, which can happen sometimes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, there is there is a case there which you can look at, and then from there try learning. To your question about onboarding, usually I think you can do that exercise in a week or so to be able to at least do that first wave of who you should be targeting and what's the ideal customer profile and personas.
When it comes to ranking on now, because before we just had to rank on Google, so but now we have to rank, like you said, on Claude or ChatGPT or Perplexity, which is AI based, because they're coming and they don't want you to leave their sites. They're building platforms where they, if you ask them, because we're using it wrong in some instances, we're using it like it's Google, so it's saying, hey, let's be Google too, right? how how has that challenged you in SEO? Because the search model is different,
Exactly.
and how
Yeah.
has that challenged you and stretched your company?
Yeah. I think the challenge you rightly said it's different because Google is there for a while now. It's been there for many years, and there are things that from an analytics standpoint you can look at and decide what you should be doing for SEO. But the good thing about Chat GPT or other LLM or AI SEO searches is that most of it is still driven by like your traditional SEO. Because think about what did they crawl in the first place to build their own knowledge. I mean, Chat GPT and any other large language model, they would have crawled the web to make sense of things. So I think it's still 80% that. And then now we have access to some of the tools which can tell you if you are cited on Chat GPT or not. And if not, that what are the gaps? And then we try to fill those gaps. Usually those gaps are maybe your content doesn't talk about a thing in a certain way, which chat gpt needs to be able to mention you because it kind of is a conversational model. So is your answer specific and then it has a personal thing in it? Is it actually looking like something that chat gpt want to cite from? So that's one. But also, how is your authority on the web overall?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
are other people talking about it when somebody is asking about that topic? And all those things it takes into consideration when it would cite you. So those are the gaps we are trying to fill. And like I said, it's still a learning process because each person's chat GPT is a different instance. So it's hard to reciprocate anything. I mean, you may find a question giving you totally different response if I were to do that in my own chat GPT window. So that's been a challenge. And I think that would remain a challenge because each person's contextual window is kind of different.
a lot of people are looking at this age as challenging. They're saying AI is going to take jobs and all this, but I see it as a great opportunity. How do you see it?
Yeah, I gave you the electricity, internet, and
Yeah.
this example. Yeah,
Same
I
thing,
feel
right?
the same way. I mean, did electricity take our jobs? I don't think so. I think it created more jobs
It created more
than
jobs,
yeah,
overnight
than
jobs at least,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Some of the jobs it will take. Electricity did take some jobs. Internet did take some jobs, and so will AI. But I think there is a huge opportunity also. It's a progress which we have not seen in a while. I think since internet, I think this is probably the biggest thing. So yeah, if you can learn it and you don't have to be like an expert at it. Even if you can learn it to a certain extent, I think it's so much helpful, and it can one create jobs, and then if you can learn it, it can make you more valuable to whatever work you do. To yeah.
How frustrating was it for you to take on this new, because now it's something else that you have to learn, right? Was it how do you value those type of challenges for your business? Do you look at it like, oh, it's something else I got to learn and show the team that I'm a authority on, or do you look at it as, wow, this is cool, and I need to add this?
Yeah, I think we were very excited about it.
Okay.
And the reason is, like I said, even before AI, we were productizing
Party
our
automation.
services.
Yeah.
Like we were doing some level of automation, so we are not able to, so, so we don't have to like throw bodies at each new project because we wanted to stay lean. And that's more like my life philosophy. I don't want to work with large teams. I mean, one of the reasons that I left my full-time job and started doing this is because, as you grow in your job as an employee, there are more people reporting into you. And then you're a people manager and not like doing the thing that you actually enjoy doing it. You're like, somebody's calling sick and somebody has other issues. So you're like that, person who is solving issues of people and not really managing the function that you are. And that's why we wanted to keep it that way. So when AI happened, to your question, I think it was a relief more than anything. We said, okay, now the things we've been trying to do the hard way, though we were able to automate some part of it, now we can do so much more. So yeah, it was exciting, and I think the more it evolves, we are totally looking forward to it.
If you're talking to somebody that's getting into the marketing field right now, what are the two things that you would tell them to focus in on?
I think I would still tell them, get your fundamentals right.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
sometimes it's the shiny object syndrome that you see, okay, new AI tool, I would learn this first. Yes, you should learn them, but first look at, I mean, I still tell anyone who is young and wants advice on marketing, I would still tell them, go read Philip Kotler and read about what he talks about marketing. Go read like Warren Keegan. I mean, two of my favorite people in marketing who I have learned from. So I would say, go check out the fundamentals, and then those fundamentals would apply everywhere.
yeah.
Then take the tools and technologies to really, you know, able to scale things and then do them better, do them faster. So that's my little advice. I mean, I'm no expert, but I think that's how I have gone in my career, and then that's how, if somebody younger wants an advice, I would do that.
Well, you are an expert, and that's why you were here on the show. And I told you guys, we only sit you at the feet of the masters. This has been another episode of Walk in Victory. All of Mukesh's information is in the description. We don't ask you for cash apps, Venmos, or any of those things, but what we do ask is that you support our guests. Follow them on social media. It helps them out. Go to their website. If you're thinking about marketing your business, B2B tech business, you need to at least get a sit down with somebody that has been a leader in that market so that you can have an idea of price points and costs. Nobody's going to hear you if you are a tree that falls in the middle of the wilderness. So we want you to be a tree that falls on a local street with a lot of noise and traffic, right? So, and cause disruption. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. This has been another episode of Walk in Victory. We don't walk with our head down. We don't walk making excuses. We walk in victory. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace. Thank you so much, sir.